is the Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. So this is if you want to have some directory information in your organization, like you want to have people's usernames, what projects they're working on, their phone number, that kind of stuff. And this is going to serve that up in a secure way. And then there's Kerberos. Again, in a networked environment, if you need to log on to some other system in the network, and you need to type a password to log on to that system, your password's going to travel over the network unencrypted. And there's things out there called packet sniffers that can read the stuff traveling by on the network, and if they saw your password, they'd be able to log into your account and delete your files and things like that. But if you have Kerberos installed on your system, that's not going to happen, because the password's going to travel over the network in an encrypted fashion. So people could see it, but it's going to be the same thing as above here. It's an encrypted password, and for them to decrypt it, it's going to take them years and years of work. Okay, so there's the authentication configuration stuff. I don't have a networked environment for my computer, so I'm just going to pick these two upper ones. Next page, we get to pick the packages to install on our system, all the various software for the tools that we want. And you can see here the total install size is 827 megabytes for all the various packages that they've picked by default. And you can see which ones they picked by default. They're represented by the stars in this column. Okay, so they picked basically very standard stuff: printing support, X Windows support. Here they picked the GNOME desktop environment. They didn't pick KDE. Red Hat uses GNOME by default. Other versions of Linux use KDE. You can pick them both and then just decide which one you like better. There's sound and multimedia support, network support. On the next page here, there's dial-up support, messaging, and web tools. If you do graphics design, you might want graphics and image manipulation software. Install that package. Then there's a bunch of servers here. News server, NFS file server. This just stands for the networked file system that we'll talk about later. Windows file server. You can use a Linux box as a Windows file server. Anonymous FTP server, SQL database server. These are all choices for you as well. On the next page here, you can see web servers, router and firewall software, all sorts of stuff. There's the Emacs editor that I really like, so I'm going to pick that package. And you can see I pick it, now a star shows up in that column, and also my install size jumps from 827 up to 862 megabytes. Okay, so let's see what's on the last page here of the package group selection. And on this page, you see some other stuff. There's software development tools, so if you want to write code in C or C++ or something, you should install that package. And then the very last thing here is just everything. This might be a little overkill. I mean, you're probably not going to need every single package on this system. Are you really going to do Linux kernel development, that kind of stuff? And this is not your only chance to install software, so don't feel like you need to install everything right now. You can always install software later, and I'll show you in a later video how to do that. All right, so I'm going to select OK here and move forward. And now it's time to configure my video card. You can see here under video card it says unknown card, video RAM is 1024. So 1024 kilobytes, which is like 1 megabyte, is what this is referring to. So Linux is not very good at probing hardware and determining what hardware you have plugged into your system. It's not as good as the Macintosh or Windows operating system at that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just select change over here and just go in and down a list and pick my video card out manually. So here I've paged down with the down arrow key, and I got to my video card, which was the NVIDIA GeForce 3 video card. So I'm going to select OK and go back to that previous screen. So that took me back to this previous screen, and now you can see the video card is filled in. NVIDIA GeForce 3 is filled in, but it still says 1024 kilobytes, which is 1 megabyte, but my computer, my video card's got 64 megabytes of RAM. So I'm going to select change here again and pick out the amount of RAM for my video card. So this took me to the video RAM screen. It starts at 1024. I'll just hit the down arrow until I get down to 64 megabytes. And here, 65,536 kilobytes is equal to 64 megabytes. So I'm going to select that and hit OK and move on. And now it's telling me the installation is ready to begin. It also tells me that a complete log of the installation will be in /temp/install.log after rebooting the system. All right? So I think it's a good idea to keep that file, because later you're going to want to determine, oh, did I really install that software? I don't really remember. And then you can just look at your install.log to see if you installed something already. You don't want to install it twice, and if you already installed it, you want to just know where it is and that kind of thing. So this is going to give you this is going to be a good reference source and keep track of some information from the install process for you. So I'm just going to select OK and start out the installation here. And the first step in the installation is formatting the file system. Okay, so this is the first step in the installation. Now the installation has officially begun. Well, now we get the rewards for all the answering all those questions and stuff. We get to kind of kick back now and watch the operating system install in front of our eyes. The first thing that happens here, it says transferring the install image to the hard drive. And then it starts installing all those packages that we asked it to install. It installs all the packages we asked it to install and also all the things those packages depend on. You can see here it's installing the GNU libc libraries. Now it's installing shadow utils, which are utilities for managing accounts and shadow password files. Now it's installing SendMail, which is a mail transport agent. And eventually, if you install enough software that couldn't fit all on the first disk of the distribution, it'll come along and say, insert disk 2 to continue. Okay, so I'm just going to hit spacebar here to select that. And now it's on to installing libraries for the Emacs editor. And now it's done installing the packages. I didn't show you a screenshot of every single package being installed. They're basically all the same, and some of them take under a second, so I couldn't even grab them on the screenshot. I'm not that quick. But now it's performing a post-install configuration. And now you have the choice of creating a custom boot disk for your system. So basically what this is if your hard disk ever gets corrupted and Linux is not able to boot, either because some critical file is corrupted or the first piece of the hard disk is corrupted where the master boot record sits, if something like that gets corrupted, you're going to want an emergency boot disk so you can boot your operating system, and ideally you'll be able to fix those problems that are on your hard disk, and you'll retain all the information that you used to have. Okay, so I think yes is the right choice to make here. Stick a floppy into your floppy drive and create one of these custom boot disks. And now we've got to configure our monitor. And just like for our video card, it wasn't really able to recognize our monitor. It just says generic standard VGA monitor. I'm going to select change here and go into a list and actually pick my monitor manually out of the list. So I page down here with the down arrow key, and I got it down here to my monitor, which is the Philips 107S. So I select OK here, and I get kicked back to that previous screen. And now here on the previous screen, you can see it's filled in Philips 107S under monitor now. And it's also filled in the horizontal and vertical refresh rates. So I'm going to select OK and move forward. And now it's asking me to customize my X Windows configuration. It's asking for the color depth, the resolution, the default desktop is GNOME, the default login, whether it should be graphical or text. So I like all this, so I'm just going to select OK. And now this is the screen you want to see. Congratulations, your Red Hat Linux system is complete. If you see this and this was the first time you're ever installing Linux, good job. Pat yourself on the back there. You did a great job. And now what you want to do is you want to remove any of the media out of your system that you use to install the system, like the CDs or the floppies that you use to create your initial installation. You want to take those out, so now when your system boots up, it's going to boot up off the hard disk. So I'm going to select Enter here. And now I have it says up here Grub version 0.90, and now I can boot Red Hat Linux. And you can see here it says the highlighted entry will boot automatically in 6 seconds, or you can just hit enter to boot the one that's selected right now. And now the system's booting up, and we're getting messages from the system boot process. More things are booting up. You can see various things as they come up, mounting the proc file system, activating the swap partition. Everything that says OK here has come up successfully. And you can just see more and more stuff is saying OK as we work down. And finally, you get the login screen. So your login screen might not look exactly like this if you don't have Red Hat, but the point here is you type in your username, then you type in your password, and you should be logged onto your system as the normal user. Good job. Well, this wraps up our installation of Linux video. Basically, I just walked you through the installation process of Red Hat Linux, installing it off of a CD using the text mode interface. But if you're installing some other version of Linux, or you're installing it with the GUI interface instead of the text interface, it's going to be basically the same. Maybe some other distribution is going to ask you the questions in a different order or something. But if you watch this video through once and then you go to do your installation, you should be perfectly prepared. And the text mode interface is what I was showing you here, but the graphical interface is going to be pretty simple, and it's going to, like I said, all the questions are going to be the same, just the interface is going to be different, but it's going to be simple enough that you'll be able to pick it up right away. Well, good job installing Linux if you've already done it. If not, good luck installing it, and I hope you found this nugget informative, and thanks for viewing.